What's good, YouTube? Welcome back to the Brown Gent. In today's video, I've got some exciting Zomedica updates for you. We'll talk about the CEO, Larry Heaton, buying a bunch of Zomedica shares. We'll cover the Q3 earnings results that sort of happened over probably like a week ago on November 13th. And finally, we'll address all of this talk around a reverse stock split. But if you haven't done so already, make sure you hit the like button, share the video, and subscribe to the channel. We talk about all things wealth creation, whether it's in the stock market or cryptocurrencies. And Zomedica is one of my 3 favorite speculative companies, aka startups, that I believe has massive growth potential. The other 2 are Marathon Digital Holdings, a Bitcoin miner, and the final one is Nano Dimensions, sort of this 3D printing company. Now, let's get into it. And first, as a reminder, Zomedica is this pet healthcare company. They have a wide pillar of offerings. First, starting with truforma, which is a diagnostic device. And they've used the money that they raised from truforma's initial launch prep to sort of invest in other sort of parallels, but basically other verticals such as PulseVet, VetGuardian, TrueView, Revo, Assisi Animal Health, and most recently Corvo Biotechnologies. So the first thing maybe we'll cover today is this filing that came out yesterday on November 17th. This is Larry Heaton. He's the recent CEO, or the most recent CEO of Zomedica, stepping in about a year and a half ago. And what he's done is basically, you can see on this Form 4, he filed that he bought 100,000 common stock, which is sort of why it's the A here, that's securities acquired. He got them at a price of 16.6 cents. And basically, he's had 200,000 now total. So basically, he's doubled his number of shares, sitting with 200,000 shares. Pretty good. And obviously, this is an action that only somebody takes who's confident in their value increasing, right? Like, one of the things you've got to realize is, this is very different than stock options. This is somebody taking their own individual money and deciding, hey, I'm going to invest in this company, right? So significant for sure. And this is equivalent to, what is it? 1 million. 1,000 is 166. So basically 166, yeah. 166,000. Hold on, let me sorry, it's 4 a.m. here. My brain's a little foggy, but I'm just gonna do some quick math to make sure I'm not making a fool of myself. Okay, sorry, it's $16,600 US. Not a significant amount by any means, but still a positive sign, something that somebody only does if, no, he's not here burning money, right? Now, for some reason, the news releases site was not loading for me. I don't know what's going on, if that's the case for all of you. So I had to go find sort of these earnings reports elsewhere. So I'm using StockTitan.net, and StockTitan.net has their press release where Zomedica announced their Q3 2023 financial results, showing their revenue was $6.3 million. Their 69% gross margin, and $118 million in cash and cash equivalents, and some updates. Some of the stuff you already know. They've acquired structured monitoring products, and most recently Corvo Biotech. So they reported their Q3 earnings results. $6.3 million worth of sales, pretty good. Gross margin went up from 67% to 69%, and somewhere down here. And obviously that's great, because what that does is it means the company's more profitable, right? What it means is margins, the way you should look at them is the higher the margins are, it means for every dollar that you spend, you're getting that much sort of return in like of that in profit, right? So it's very, very good. Let's cover this right now. So this was for the quarter ended September 30th, 2023. The revenue is $6.3 million. Let's look at last time. It was $6 million in Q2. And then, they've seen a ton of growth in their therapeutic devices segment. PulseVet, of course, has been clutch, $6 million. Diagnostic, their product sales in truforma, TruView, and VetGuardian, very mediocre still, $0.3 million. Yeah, great. Like, they're using marketing language to say they tripled the revenues. That's like saying, you went from making 10 cents to $1. I've 10x my revenue. Numbers are very important for context. And in the year, they've grown up $0.2 million despite all the investment. So that was not that great. Consumable revenues grew to $4.5 million. Capital revenues grew to $1.8 million. As I mentioned, the gross margin was up 2%. They're sitting with $118 million in cash. This is important. As I always tell you guys, always look at how much cash is on hand. At the last earnings update, they had $142.4 million in cash or cash equivalents. Now they're sitting with $118 million. So that is $24 million that was spent. We already know how that was spent. It was used to buy Corvo Biotechnologies. $21.5 million for the acquisitions, investments, and one-time items, with the remaining $2.9 million used for operating expenses or OPEX. So their non-GAAP EBITDA loss was $0.3 million, which is, better than before. It's better than last time, still not great. Now, here comes the commentary. So basically, the CEO said the third quarter marks the highest revenue quarter in the company's history, also marks record quarterly revenues for first, second, and third quarter, making 2023 a standout year across the 9 months. They're going to build on that momentum, leverage those new capabilities, and introduce and continue to introduce new product platforms into the market. And, we see that with Corvo Biotech. And through these strategic acquisitions, they can now develop, manufacture, and market all of their products, providing excellent gross margin. And they're very pleased with the 69% gross margin, which is a good accomplishment. And this is noteworthy considering one-time costs associated with our TruView microscope launch and the truforma product transition and the efforts to fortify the supply chain to keep up with the demand. So, as I mentioned before, they now have 5 verticals on the market, and this gives them multiple different ways that they can grow revenue, and they're investing for sort of growing these new products, especially in these new product categories. There's tons of marketing efforts in sales, growing the sales force, growing their distribution network. And obviously, we know this takes a bunch of time. I'm very hopeful in these other product lines. truforma specifically has not really taken off. I'm glad that the company has pivoted, because if we were sitting here hoping on truforma, let's be honest here, I think this company would have gone bankrupt, because it is just not getting the traction for whatever reason. I have not seen their full-on marketing plan, but the appetite just doesn't seem to be there. Either that, or they're not getting their value proposition across to vets effectively. And that's what a strong marketing organization and sales organization would ensure that happens. Now, I'm not going to cover sort of all these investments, but as you know, they've acquired structured monitoring products. They've launched this new TruView digital microscope. They've acquired Corvo Biotechnologies. Remember, this is important because this will reduce their costs. I don't know why I said costs. Their costs in producing these new assays for truforma. This is really where the BOSS sensor technology came from. And also, anything that Corvo had, like their pipeline of customers in developing for other companies, this is another revenue stream. So this is very important, regardless of what happens to truforma. Now, there was a corporate listing update. Now, Zomedica did receive a deficiency letter from the NYSE American Exchange on September 12th, indicating that the company was not in compliance with the continued listing standards, aka people get worried about a reverse stock split because Zomedica's common shares were selling for a substantial period of time below the 20 cents per share that's required to be listed. Now, they've stated their intention to cure the share price deficiency and return to compliance with the listing standards through a series of measures that are in the best interest of the company and its shareholders. So when people read this, the biggest panic is, oh my God, reverse stock split. If you've invested with penny stocks and sort of the like, you know the reverse stock split is the worst thing that can happen to a company, because what happens is they sort of divide the number of shares, maybe do a 3-to-1, 5-to-1, 10-to-1 reverse stock split. You keep the equity, but the price of the shares go up artificially, and then the price of the shares typically sell off 80 to 90%. Let me just bring up BNGO stock and see sort of what happened to them. I mentioned that this would be probably the nail in the coffin for them. And I believe it happened when BNGO was sitting around 40 cents. So they did a 10-to-1 stock split. Let's look back here, around 40 cents or whatever. It was around here. Yeah, somewhere around here, it was 40 cents. They did a reverse stock split, went to $4. And since then, they sold off 66%. People were sort of coming after me in the comments saying, no, I'm wrong. Reverse stock split is fantastic. It's a joke. You'd never want that. And obviously, the vague language that they used here scares people. Now, I don't believe this will happen, not even just because the company, but they tried this before. So September 2020, they actually put together a proposal to get a reverse stock split when the company wasn't doing so well. Same deal. And it got rejected by the shareholder vote. So for those of you watching, if you've got a ton of Zomedica shares, I know there's a couple of you who own 1 million Zomedica shares. I had somebody on my channel about 1.5 years ago to 2 years on this. Make sure you vote against this. This is not what we want. The last thing we want is for that to happen, and we want sort of Zomedica's price to go up naturally the way that it should, right? Now, I'm not going to cover the quarter results revenue quarter results review because I've already done that. If you want to take a look at their OPEX, $10.3 million, sort of the cost of revenue being $2 million, their net loss, $0.3 million, which is, $0.001 per share. You can have all that. Obviously, definitely way better than last time, but still not fantastic. Their cash and cash equivalents, etc., are $118 million. We're getting dangerously close. I believe if we get to $50 million in sort of that sort of cash, we're likely going to see a share offering, and that's not going to be good for anyone either, because guess what? That means the stock will sell off again. Now, I understand here that, they obviously had their conference call earlier on Monday. I was away in Dubai, so I didn't get a chance to listen in. Last time we actually did it live and we sort of listened in and we talked about sort of the earnings report and everything else. I'll try to do that in the future. As you know, I was traveling with my wife. We'll make sure that we're back here and covering all the details going forward so you guys sort of are in the know. But just remember, keep in mind how much cash they have on hand, because that will really give you an indicator on whether or not they need to sort of build a runway for themselves, right? Now, acquisitions are fantastic. We got to see these acquisitions bring in cash. We don't want to see sort of the value or the amount of cash on hand within the company continue to go down. Obviously, like I said, acquisitions, one thing, cash burn is another. You don't want to be like Air Canada, for example, and just sit there and just burn cash and then sort of rely on the shareholders to bail you out, which is why I stopped investing in that company. So as you can see here for Zomedica, we've really went from sort of lows of 14 cents all the way up to 33 cents at the start of the year. And ever since then, it's sort of been drawing down all the way. As you guys know, I've been very vocal about my buy and my sell zones and sort of my zones where I sit on my hands. That we almost came out of the buy zone, went all the way up to like almost 20 cents for like a few seconds, and then back down, right? So especially at a time when the market is recovering. We're seeing S&P 500 and the NASDAQ back close to the all-time highs again, and these stocks have not recovered. So this is something I'm going to be very patient on. I'm not buying any more Zomedica shares until we drop below 14 to 13 cents, somewhere below here. But the moment we get above this line, above sort of 23 cents, I am liquidating a ton of the bags that I've been creating. Guerrero says, I'm all the way out at this point. It's going lower, just no. You know what? It's hard to tell. Like, I'll be honest with you, this is sort of why I've been buying and selling the entire time. There's been a ton of maxis, I like to call them, who've been like, why are you selling Zomedica when it's 35 cents? Why are you selling when it's 30 cents? And this is exactly why, because, hey, I'm on house money now. I don't care. Like, if the stock goes up, fantastic. If the stock goes to zero, like worst case scenario, I'm still up. Obviously, I don't want to go to zero because I still have money in here, right? Like, there's no point for me to sit there and be like, oh yeah, fantastic, I want to just throw this money away. But let's be honest here, no one can sort of figure things out on where it's going to go. A lot of it depends on, are they going to do a share offering? Do they need more capital to grow their business? What's going on with the sentiment of the company? Is there anything positive to look forward to? How are we sort of making sure the reverse stock split doesn't happen? If a reverse stock split happens, I think it's wrapped for this company. Like, that's the moment that I would just sort of take what I have left and just leave. There's 0 point at that point to hold any shares, because you're literally just watching that entire slide all the way down. And we know how the story ends. What happens is, if a reverse stock split does happen and they artificially increase the price, like I said, in my opinion, highly unlikely that it passes, but maybe we go back up to $1, and then within like the next few months, we're back down below 20 cents again. It's just going to happen. So why even bother, right? Exactly like Mullen Automotive. That was a stock that I was in for like a week. Got like a good 18 to 20% return on that pump, and then got out of there. And I got out of there when the stock was $14 before any sort of reverse stock splits. And I looked at it recently and I'm like, wow, I'm so glad I trusted my gut to get out, even though everyone said this was the next big EV company of sorts, or EV tech, right? At the end of the day, you got to do what's best for you. If you're sitting here constantly looking at Zomedica's price and going, hey, like, this is too much, or I'm so worried, it means that you got too much in the company. That's just the honest truth, right? It's funny because for me, I got, let's just say like 5-6 figures in Tesla. Don't ever worry about that company. But something like Zomedica, I'm more concerned when I see the stock price. Why? Because there's not as much backing it up. Tesla, like, everybody's buying into it. It's a ton. It like moves markets. Zomedica can come and go. This is why I always tell everyone, do not make companies like this a big portion of your portfolio. At most, 20%, in my opinion, should be speculative companies. At most. Everything else should be the fundamentals, like Tesla, Apple, Disney, other staples, things that will hold for long term. Index funds, S&P 500, NASDAQ, whatever it may be. These are the things you really want to be your backbone. It is crazy times, Alice. It is crazy times. I got a settlement coming in from what? From Mullen? No way. That would be crazy. Anyways, it's sitting here at 4 a.m. The only reason I'm shooting this video so late is because I'm on Dubai time still, so it's a 9-hour time difference. It's like lunchtime over there, like 1 p.m. So I can't sleep. So get used to a couple late night videos from me. Obviously, I expect most people to watch this when they wake up in the morning, but this way I can get this out of the way and do even more videos. I'm going to be back doing more videos more consistently now that all of my trips are done, at least for the foreseeable future. 30K I'm putting in Tesla. See, yeah, that's exactly, like, that's the sort of safety, right? Apple's the same way. They gave a 24-cent dividend, I think, what was it, like yesterday or 2 days ago? Yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah. And yeah, Guero, thanks for coming on. Thanks for watching. Love the support. For all of you who've woken up and saw this after the fact, and by the way, same for Zealous. Hold on. You don't think Tesla is overvalued? No, I do not think so at all. The one thing you got to remember about Tesla is right now, we are just paying for their EV business. What about autonomous driving? What about like AI? What about sort of ride sharing? What about insurance? They've got a ton of things in the woodwork. I think that, Elon Musk is a very controversial character. I think, we can probably 4 to 5x that stock price in the next 10, 15 years. I own, like, every single time I sort of go through the Tesla earnings report and everything and seeing how they're changing sort of the way that they're moving, I get even more bullish, right? Like, there are some incredible investors who've like literally just Tesla diehard supporters, and they're not blind, right? The reality is they understand Elon's limitations. Get him off Twitter, like, get him to stop posting because he's not good for the brand in that sense, but he's a great visionary. And like, there's a couple people I know who have Teslas and they love it, right? Like, I was about to buy a Tesla. I have a big announcement coming up, and that'll explain why I haven't bought one yet. But I prefer to hold Tesla stock. It's fantastic, and I think we are not even close to where it could be. That being said, remember, this is not financial advice. Any idiot can turn on their camera and sort of talk to you guys. So remember, take what I say as entertainment only. Do your own research, but at the same time, make sure you like the video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you share the video. And until next time, I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.